Shalom Aleichem Rabotai. This is Rabbi Kovacs, and the Mishnah Yomi is on the final day of Terumot. So we're in the 11th parak at the 9th Mishnah. Everyone hang on to the very end for a special announcement. Baruch Hashem, here we are, Mishnah Tes, Karshine Terumah, Machilin Otam Lebehema, Velachaya, Veletarnagolim. The karshinim, which is called vetch, it's sort of a bean kind of plant, and it's not normally human food. It's normally behema food. But b'shas adchak, when the chips are down, when there are no chips to eat, then human beings will eat karshinim, they'll eat vetch as well. So it does have the kedusha of Terumah. But in any event, it can still, even though it has kedusha of Terumah, the karshin of Terumah can be fed to animals, to domestic animals, wild animals, and birds. Yisrael shesochar para mikohen. When a regular Yisrael, a non-Kohen, rents out the cow of a Kohen, machila karshine Terumah. The Yisrael who has karshinim, vetch, on hand that has kedushas Terumah can feed it to the animal, because the animal belongs to the Kohen. And the Torah includes the kinyan kaspo, the acquisitions of a Kohen in the people or animals that are eligible to eat Terumah. The Kohen shesocher parm Yisrael, but a Kohen who rents a cow from a Yisrael, afal pi shemiznotei alov, even though he is legally required to feed the cow while it's working or plowing with him, he can't feed it Terumah. Ironically, the Kohen can't give the animal the Kohen's using Terumah because really it belongs to Yisrael. Now, here's the Mishnah continues with a variation on this case. Yisrael shesham para mikohen. Now, what about Yisrael that did what's called a shuma? Now, shuma means an estimation. What this really means is they estimated the value of the animal, and the Yisrael that's renting, not only is he renting, but he's taking all liability. So he signs a contract or verbally in front of witnesses says that he's on the hook if anything happens to this animal for the full value. Lo yachilenu karshine Terumah. So now the Yisrael who rented from a Kohen could feed the animal Terumah, but now we need sham, there's a shuma, he's on the hook for everything, he's responsible for everything. It's considered halachically his animal already, at least temporarily. He can't feed it Terumah. Again, because he has responsibility, full responsibility is considered full ownership. He can't feed it Terumah. It's as if it's his already. The Kohen shesham param Yisrael, and so too a Kohen who did this estimation, he put himself on the line, fully responsible for the animal of the Yisrael that he's renting and using, machila karshine Terumah. It's as if it belongs to the Kohen and he can feed it Terumah. Okay, Rabotai, we are on the final Mishnah in Terumot. Madalikin shemen soifa b'betei knesiot. We can light oil that must be burned in shul. Now, recall I've talked about that if Terumah becomes tameah, it certainly cannot be eaten. That's the significance of Veira, but it could be consumed as fuel. It could be burned. So oil that became tameh can't be used for eating, but it can be used for lighting lamps. And you could do this in the shul. Uvevate midrashot, and in the base medrash. In those days, sometimes the base medrash was in a different building from the shul. Sometimes there's a different room for the base medrash. Umevoet ha'afelin, and also in dark alleyways where they would need to put up public lighting so people wouldn't, have a fumble there. In all these places, the Kohanim are, go there. Kohanim go to shul. They go to the base medrash. They need the light in dark alleyways, so we can put up lights there that are using shemen sreifa, oil of Terumah that's tameah now. Al gabe cholin b'shut kohen, and it could also be above the sick with the reshus of the Kohen. Now, there's two ways to read this. You could use it for lighting for ill people in the hospital, for example. B'shus Kohen could mean in the reshut, as in reshut rabim, in the property of a Kohen, or it can mean birshus, like with permission of the Kohen. The Bartanura understands as hainu kishiyeh sham Kohen. When there is a Kohen there, we allow using Terumah oil. ner le'echad, ner le'meya. We've heard maybe one candle is good for one person. It's also good for 100 people. As long as you have one Kohen there, it's considered Birshus HaKohen. And the Mishnah continues, Bot Yisrael Sheni said the Kohen, a Jewish girl, meaning a Bas Yisrael, a non-Kohen, she marries a Kohen. V'hi lemuda etzel aviha. And she is learned by her father, meaning she goes back to her father's house to visit. Avia modlik birshuta. Her father can light Terumah tameah oil. Now, birshuta, again, could mean in her domain, like in her bedroom, or birshuta with her permission, because she's someone who's qualified als her marriage to the Kohen to consume Terumah, and that includes burning Terumah tameah as fuel. The Mishnah continues, modlikin bebeit hamishte. We can light with Terumah oil, Terumah tameah oil, in the party hall, like the wedding hall by the simcha, avalo bebeit ovel, but not in the house of mourners. Here, the Rav, the Bartner, explains, if they're having a simcha, they have bigodim nikim. They're wearing their clean clothing, so they're not going to want to pick up the lamp, which gets sooty and oily and schmutzy, because they're going to get it on their nice simcha clothes. They're going to get it on their Shabbos clothes or the Yontif suit. They don't want to do that, so they're going to be very careful not to touch it and move it around or take from the oil out. But in a base oval, maybe not. They're not necessarily wearing clean clothes. Maybe the opposite, and they might come to be using or moving the oil. Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. This is the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yossi Omer. Rabbi Yossi says, Beveta Avil, Avola Beveta Mishte. He says they could use Terumah oil, it's tameah, for lighting in the mourning house, but not at the party. Why? Because when they're mourning, the Rav says, Avil mitoch shalibo nishbar v'nichna. He's very humble, he's broken-hearted. He's not going to start rearranging the candelabra and the lighting and the chandelier and everything. But by a party, people are having such a simcha, and they might want to bring the lights and go bring the party to another room, go down to the wine cellar. You're going to need a lamp to open up another barrel. Things like this. People are more enthusiastic. They'll be more mako. They might come to use the oil, move the oil around to a place where there's no kohanim, and then they're not entitled technically to use it. Rabbi Meir oser kan v'kan. Rabbi Meir is machmer. He says, don't use it in either place. We're concerned he's going to move the light to where there's no Kohen present and he doesn't have permission anymore. Rabbi Shimon matir kan v'kan. Rabbi Shimon allows it both in the base Hamishte and both in the base Ha'evil, because he uses the logic, well, that you have clean clothing on, so they're not going to move the lamps around to where there's no Kohanim at the party, and they're very humble and serious in the base Oval, and they're not going to come to move the lamps. Famously, Shlomo Melech said, better to go to base Oval than a base Hamishte, because you learn more Musar, you take more lesson there. But we see that both places are important in our life, in Jewish life, in communal life. It's important to be with people in times of joy and in times of sorrow. So amazingly enough, I want to thank everyone who's been very helpful and supportive, that my son is ill, and God willing, we'll have refuah shlema. And I'd like to wish everyone a Mazel Tov on the birth of my son. You heard it here first. Rabbosai, you were the first ones to know outside of my own immediate family. So Mazel Tov, and thank you. And we see that we need all areas of life. So Mazel Tov on Terumot, and Mazel Tov on my son. And God willing, we should all share smachot together. And tomorrow we'll share maasrot together, God willing.